So we can't be, what are we benefiting from illegal immigrants coming into our country and flocking into the country? It's the same thing that I expressed earlier on this morning, that, we're creating a European model where we're not in European standards yet. African countries have failed their own people. They've got poor leadership, poor governance, and doing business is something that is only restricted to a few. So we're not taking business people and bringing them here. We don't have as many tourists as we as South Africans tour other African countries. So we're not importing the same value that we give to other countries into South Africa. And that's the problem. It's an exchange. We need to exchange business people for business people, professionals for professionals, goods for goods. So if they want us to carry on like absorbing illegal immigrants, then they must also allow our illegal immigrants to go into their countries, because currently, even in Zimbabwe, about 14 South Africans...
Do you have a sense that the other countries, right, in a sense, are justifying illegal immigration, or we have illegal immigration because of the terrible conditions in those countries? If you look at DRC, let's just take DRC as an example. I mean, nothing works there. Roads are not working. Infrastructure has collapsed. People are running to neighboring countries. There's an intermittent war, etc. Right? So there is a category there of people who could legitimately say, we're not safe at DRC. Can we come to South Africa? How do you, in your campaign, distinguish between those kind of legitimate refugees, asylum seekers, and people like that? Who you and I have a responsibility.
Okay, so I always explain this when I talk about migration. Migration is not something that you wake up in the morning and you start doing. It goes with planning. It goes with processes. So as a country, we have to look at our resources, what we have available, how much we have for our own people, how much we can take in. We're currently the only country, or one of the only countries, that have an unlimited number of resources that we take in. Of refugees that we take in, which is an unfair model. It's not going to be sustainable, because if every single African country decides to go to war today and every single African country decides to come to South Africa, then we've got a serious problem in our hands.
It's a Frank Dialogue podcast with me, Onkgopotse JJ Tabane, in partnership with the Sunday World. Of course, we're coming to you from the belly of the newsroom here at Sunday World. And we've got a special guest today, Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma, who's been at the center of a big debate here in South Africa about migration. You remember the 30th June marches and marches. Okay, they've got an organization called March and March. And I was thinking, and thank you for making the time to talk to us. I know that I'm sure you've got 100 requests for interviews.
But I always go for the difficult ones first.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we were difficult ones. But tell me about yourself just a little bit quickly, man, before we get into where are you from? Who is Jacinta?
Okay, I was born in Eshowe.
Yeah, okay.
I grew up Kwamashu, then moved to Johannesburg for high school, then went back to KZN for tertiary to study in university. That's when I started doing radio. I dropped out of school. Started doing radio, got into events and entertainment, started doing activism work, and then went back to school, finished my degree, and got married, and then started another degrare, and then
what did you study? Sorry, I'm curious on the second degree. What did you study?
I'm studying law now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you studying human rights?
No. Just I want to do I do want to touch on human rights, but I also want to do civil matters as well.
Yeah. You've been at the center. How did you come across March and March? I mean, I know that you're part of the founding group and so on, but just give me a background of how you then at some point just said, listen, we just got up March and March. Why? The reason I'm asking that is that this is fashioned almost around the Dudula movement. Right? And the question was, did you build onto the Dudula? Are you partnership with the Dudula? Is it the offshoot of the Dudula? Quickly, explanation there.
To be honest with you, when we started this whole movement, I didn't know it was going to be this big. I had no idea. It's actually taken me by surprise, and it's grown legs of its own. But it all started basically with me being concerned about the issue of foreign nationals in the country. There was it was a continuous thing, but it got worse when I was having constant dreams of children being shipped out of the country in containers. I I told my husband about it. He was like, ah, you're just dreaming, you know, but it just was consistent. And on top of that, then there happened to be a period where children just kept going missing, like almost like 2 or 3 children a week in KZN. I don't know if it was the same here. So that's when it said to me, you know what, this can't be a coincidence. And then just after that, then children started dying from spaza shop food. And, you
Poisoning,
know,
yes.
yes. And I was just like waiting for the president to say something, you know, profound. And
Yeah.
all he said was, we'll register them. And I was like, we've got a serious problem here. Because on top of that, I was like obsessed with Sizoktola every Sunday, you know. Like, what is going on? Why are Nigerians like getting away with doing drugs? And then the same people would come again week after week. And it just seemed like a cycle, you know, a cycle of lack of delivery, lack of consideration for your own people. And then when we started March in March, it was March in March. It was a single march where I actually wrote on social media because people knew I always wrote about how, you know, Sizoktola, all of those things. So they're like, you know what, you're always talking, just do something about it. You know, let's show the government that we're angry. So it was around Jan. Like, guys, okay, fine, we're gonna march in March. You know, they're like, yeah, we'll march in March. Then, you know, that's how we started. We really had no idea that it would be this big. So then after March in March, like the march ended and everyone is like, okay, so what are we doing next? You know, and then it hit me that, okay, there's an expectation here for us to do something else.
Continuous.
And then, yes, and then that's why
something happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then we had, you know, I sat down and I said, okay, maybe we'll turn the in to the and. Then we moved it to March and March until we win. So it really basically was people on social media. That's how we mobilized using Facebook. You know, it was only Facebook, and we had no means of going to communities, and that's how we had our very first march, and people turned out. So I knew it was a burning issue, but at the time, a lot of people were still scared to voice their opinions on the issue of illegal immigration because you know, of the labels of xenophobia, etc., or being labeled as hateful, etc. And when we had our very first march, I remember till today, like we were marching. It was the 24th of March, 2025. Like, we had the whole street in Durban, the West Street. They were sitting there, these Ethiopians, Somalians, everyone, like in the morning, laughing at us. They were laughing at us, literally.
Sure.
We were like a joke. They're like, what are you guys doing? What's going on? They were standing there, you know. And there's people who still have videos of that even till today to show how they made a mockery of the whole thing when it started.
Sure. Let's talk about this label of xenophobia. Obviously, as an intellectual, somebody who has studied and so on, obviously you are aware of the fact that South Africa can never be an island.
Yeah.
Right? South Africa has to integrate. In fact, you will talk to me a little bit about yesterday's march around SADC. I was myself puzzled that they didn't put it on the agenda to discuss it. Right? More from an area of saying, in 2000, I used to work for the Department of Tourism. In 2000 already, this is 26 years ago, the resolution they passed yesterday was passed in 2000 that says, let's allow free movement of people, right, through something called the Univisa.
Yes.
Which, if you think about it, it's quite an exciting thing, because if I want to do business in Lesotho or Botswana and so on, I don't have to be having problems of getting there, partnering with the people in Botswana, partnering people in Lesotho. How do you balance the issue of ensuring that you push against illegal immigration, right, while you are still cognizant of the fact that South Africa cannot survive as an island?
I think it's really simple. I mean, when we trade with other countries, we trade goods, not people. But it seems like South Africa is the only country that has been expected to trade its people. You know, we're expected to uphold a certain, you know, etiquette when it comes to trade. But in the same breath, we're expected to house people so that that trade can continue to happen. Trade is not free goods just being given to people. It's an exchange. You know, you benefit, I benefit. So we can't be. What are we benefiting from illegal immigrants coming into our country and flocking into the country? It's the same thing that I expressed earlier on this morning. That, you know, we're creating a European model where we're not in European standards yet. African countries have failed their own people. They've got poor leadership, poor governance, and doing business is something that is only restricted to a few. So we're not taking business people and bringing them here. We don't have as many tourists as we as South Africans tour other African countries. So we're not importing the same value that we give to other countries into South Africa. And that's the problem. It's an exchange. We need to exchange business people for business people, professionals for professionals, goods for goods. So if they want us to carry on like absorbing illegal immigrants, then they must also allow our illegal immigrants to go into their countries, because currently, even in Zimbabwe, about 14 South Africans.
Do you have a sense that the other countries, right, in a sense, are justifying illegal immigration, or we have illegal immigration because of the terrible conditions in those countries? If you look at DRC, let's just take DRC as an example. I mean, nothing works there. Roads are not working. Infrastructure has collapsed. People are running to neighboring countries. There's an intermittent war, etc. Right? So there is a category there of people who could legitimately say, we are not safe at DRC. Can we come to South Africa? How do you, in your campaign, distinguish between those kind of legitimate refugees, asylum seekers, and people like that?
Yeah.
Who you and I have a responsibility.
Okay, so I always explain this when I talk about migration. Migration is not something that you wake up in the morning and you start doing. It goes with planning. It goes with processes. So as a country, we have to look at our resources, what we have available, how much we have for our own people, how much we can take in. We're currently the only country, or one of the only countries, that have an unlimited number of resources that we take in. Of refugees that we take in, which is an unfair model. It's not going to be sustainable, because if every single African country decides to go to war today and every single African country decides to come to South Africa, then we've got a serious problem in our hands, because the leaders of this country are supposed to pre-plan something like immigration. It's the same thing when we hear Zimbabweans or other people saying, I'm here hustling. That's what I do. It's my job. What can a person selling tomatoes on the streets be of harm? It's the lack of understanding of how immigration works. Because if you're going into another country, if I go into another country, I go there having my documents already approved, because the government of that country has already seen that we've got a lack of skills or lack of professionals, as is the case in the UAE, for example. They know we need nurses. We don't have enough nurses. So they go outside and look for those nurses. They don't say, okay, we're going to open ourselves up to anyone who wants to be anything in this country, because everyone is hustling and everyone wants to do as they please. That's not how migration works. That's why we find ourselves in this position where we're currently sitting with the parliament team talking about universities and all these areas of expertise.
So I agree that there's a level of mismanagement of migration.
There's not a level, there's an extreme mismanagement of migration in the country. A lot of people don't know what they're doing when it comes to that in South Africa. They don't plan. They don't know
how. If you engaged with Home Affairs, I saw last week they announced some sophisticated entry requirements, new visas.
There's a lot of things that are always announced at Home Affairs. A lot of them.
But you don't have confidence that they have a grip on this.
It's not even about a grip, JJ. Home Affairs can announce a whole lot of fancy things today. But they don't have the capacity to roll out those things all throughout the country. The Home Affairs Department is one of the most...
So therefore, what's the solution?
Because the solution is to fund the Home Affairs Department.
To do what?
Fund them.
To fund
give them money to run these things. Give them money for a border gate. Give them money for more people at the... Currently, our BMA is operational at 25%. 75% of our borders are not even functional at all. This is information from the BMA themselves, that they've only got 11,000 staff members in the entire country. 11,000 for a population of how many? We've only got 800 immigration officers in the entire country. They've topped it up now with 1,500 more. But still, it's not enough. How do you manage a population of 2+ million, 65 million plus people? On top of that, we don't even know how many people we have who are illegal immigrants in the country. And you're only saying you got 2,300 immigration officers in the entire country. It doesn't make sense. On top of that, you don't have enough vehicles to even deport these people. You don't have enough money. That's why we find ourselves with a government now that's saying, hey, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe pay us back the money that we used to repatriate your people, because they know very well they can't afford the exercise of deporting
Have you
people.
engaged with Minister Kubai and the interministerial committee? What has been the level of engagement?
We sat in the committee that they had, the Nat Joints committee, but that committee was not about listening. It was about them telling us what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and what we must understand, and what they're going to do to prevent anything wrong.
You don't feel listened to even up to now?
They don't listen.
Even after all these matches?
They don't listen. And I feel like by not listening, they're trying to send a message that we will not listen to you, we will continue, and you will get tired.
Is that your feeling? Is your feeling that
I'm sure
they are not taking into account the stuff? Because I'm sure you have given them countless memoranda of
I don't
what
even
needs
know
to be
how
done.
many. From different parts of the country.
And as we speak
one.
now, you feel that you have not, even after the 30th June marches, you still feel that the government has not listened, despite what the president said.
So JJ, let me ask you.
Now say they've got 5-point plan to.
What have they done? Okay, what have they done that you?
Well, they said they've deported over 60,000 people.
That's not deportation.
And 500,000 people this year alone.
There's a repatriation process. There's a deportation process, right? The repatriation process is not because of them. People were running away from the 30th of June because they were scared people are going to be hunted down. No, that part I understand.
But the Minister of International Relations
said
where
I'm going.
They have deported 500,000 in a year.
500,000 is the repatriation.
Okay.
Yes. But I know that in this year, they haven't accounted for, they're saying, since the period that the Minister of Home Affairs has come, which is the DA Minister has come, it's been 500,000 people, which is more than Aaron Motsoaledi.
Yes.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to you, in a population like South Africa, where they say they deport, the same people that we went to, we deport, they come back.
Yeah.
Right? They can't even be sure how many people, individual people they've deported. Right now, they can say we've deported 50,000 people, but some of them get off from the bus and come back in. So they can't even be sure of how many people they deported.
So this means that the mass deportation, therefore, is self-defeating, because those people are still allowed to come back.
And the border is wide open. We don't have a
so
border
what's going
wall.
to happen? I'm quite worried about the fact that you don't feel you have been listened to.
But you see,
in other words, your engagement with government. I saw that your former colleague went to meet with the president the night before the 30th.
Yes. Because apparently the president, apparently the president had said that he doesn't want the 30th to continue. And then we were not involved in that meeting. And from our conversation, we were trying to establish how can the president call two people who are not involved in planning the marches to stop the marches. Do you understand?
Yeah. But so also it doesn't sound real because it was a day before.
For us, it doesn't make sense that if the president was genuinely addressing the issues that we've brought forward, why not address it with the people that are the ones planning the marches? Because at the end of the day, we were not going to meet the president because we wanted a photo op. I always say this. All we want is for the president to give us practical solutions.
Yeah.
We heard the statement that he made when he was speaking just before the 30th of June to say, we're going to do A, B, C, D. And practically, I said, those things are not possible currently with the capacity that the Home Affairs and the BMA have.
Yeah.
Because you're also talking to a system where, as JJ, you're a Zimbabwean, you've got a passport.
Yeah.
But your passport allows you to come to South Africa, right? When you're in South Africa, all you have to do is come in, present a passport, get a stamp, and then you can go live merry. Do you know that the BMA and the Home Affairs Department don't work hand in hand? So when someone enters South Africa and
says... But the BMA
is
the agency of the Department of Home Affairs.
But they don't work hand in hand. Because let me explain to you. So when someone comes in from Nigeria or Somalia or wherever, and they say, I'm here to visit my cousin, right? It ends there. They have no records of where this person is going, no phone number, no way of tracking them, and they expect the Home Affairs to be the one that deports them. Currently, Home Affairs is doing deportations, but before there was even a march in March, Home Affairs was stagnant. They would only do deportations when it was people coming from prison or people that they are being caught by police doing crimes, etc. That was it. So there's no interlinked communication between BMA and Home Affairs that if I come in and I say I'm staying for 30 days, Home Affairs can track me that in fact 30 days later, your passport is expired, you can go home.
All right.
It's even the case with so-called refugees. When we ask the Department of Home Affairs, do you know where your refugees and asylum seekers are? They flat out said they don't know where they live, where their numbers are, who they are. They only depend on the refugees coming to Home Affairs Department.
Jacinta, I know there's a lot to cover. And I hope that you'll come back because the hour is not going to be enough, clearly. We're going to need to do a part B. But I want us to isolate one or two things before I ask my friends to come in and help interrogate you a little bit. Right?
Sure.
I'm quite, because I do dialogues as a living, I'm worried if you're telling me there's no dialogue between you and the government. Right? And I'm scheduled to talk to Minister Gubai, and I'm going to ask her the same question.
You can.
What do you think needs to be done just in terms of getting, if you like, a common approach, both as citizens and government on this issue of migration, which, by the way, is not unique to South Africa. I mean, you've seen some of the stories there, people going through the sea, trying to jump from Morocco to Europe and what have you. So it's not unique to South Africa, right?
Yeah.
So if they were listening to this, what would you think should happen for us to start pulling together as a country to deal with this kind of issue?
Okay, let me give you an example of Zimbabwe, for example, because I want us to look at it holistically so that it's not just a South African thing, right? Zimbabwe, same country where there's millions of their people here in the country, currently has about 14 South Africans in a maximum security prison who are kept there because they didn't have the correct documents, right? So if the minister and all these other presidential government people are being frank in the conversation of migration, why are you not calling Zimbabwe to account for your own people that are in Zimbabwe for the very same reason your people who are Zimbabweans are here? Because they claim they have human rights when they come here. So that's our biggest problem. The minute someone sets foot in South Africa, they know their human rights take precedence over everything. And then they bring children here. When we spoke to the Department of Social Development, because I told you we've been at this. Social Development says now they've got a new thing of just bringing their children. So there's not enough space for South African children who are orphans or who need places, because they now have to follow up on all these cases of unknown children that they bring here, because when they find them, they demand for the children to be documented. Now, when the children become documented, it makes it easier for the parents to get South African documents as well. So this is the problem that we find with the country, is that one, the laws of the country are the main reason why people come here. Zimbabwe doesn't have too strict borders, if I can say. But you don't see South Africans crossing into Zimbabwe. You know why? Because we know when we get to the Zimbabwean side of things, their laws are strict. Their government doesn't care whether your human rights are pink, orange, and green. Their laws take precedence over everything. We don't have that system in our country. We've got a government that prioritizes everything else besides their own laws.
Yeah, I hear you, but do you think that you, right, as the civil society groupings that are pushing this particular issue and government are not are speaking past each other?
But you see,
JJ, before we go into the details of the solution.
But I'm trying to tell you that there's nothing that we can do if we have done all these consultations, done all these things with government. I mean, I'm telling you, there's very few departments that we haven't spoken to, written to, us for meetings with, etc. The government has decided.
You have given up.
No, we'll never give up.
No, in terms of engaging government, because other ones.
That's exactly what I'm saying. We'll never give up. We'll never give up. If national government won't listen, there's provincial government, there's local government structures as
the
well.
The Minister of Police, sorry, I need to give my colleagues.
Oh, you're giving You're talking about Kachalia now.
Yeah, Kachalia says at the briefing on the 30th, says he's very concerned about the fact that you said you're going to march until the local government elections. And he was raising the issue about this thing being politically contaminated, right?
Did we say we'll march until the local government elections, or even until we win?
There was somebody in the audience. It was a press conference who asked what's going to be next, and they said no, there's going to be a march every Thursday until November.
Yeah, we've got operations every Thursday. They have nothing to do with local government. Those will carry on even after local government.
But the point I'm making is I want you to address the issue of political
interference.
Maybe interference
or
association, because you've just announced that you are supporting a mayoral candidate.
That's not what I said. I gave a message of support to ActionSA. Okay. I didn't say I'm endorsing this person, vote for this person. I think people don't listen to messaging and then interpret it the way that they want to interpret it.
What is the reality?
The reality is we gave ActionSA a message of support as one of the organizations and political parties that always...
What about MK?
Same with MK, and we'll do the same for the IFP. We'll do the same for the NFP.
Also, you have a set of political organizations,
and we announced this. We announced this on the 30th. We even named them.
Who are the lucky ones?
Political. They're not lucky. They just have made a stand, and that stand is in alignment with the issue of illegal immigration. So every single political party that is in alignment with the issue of illegal immigration and has been marching with us when we march is a political party we're definitely going to be aligning with. Because it doesn't make sense to feel like when we need them to march with us, they come. And then when we want to send a message of support, it becomes something that it's not. It doesn't make sense, because the same people that are marching with us have their own political parties. We're not a political party.
You started this on Facebook. Yes. Are you arguing that this is organic? And I'm coming back to the issue of funding.
I knew you would ask that. I knew you would ask that.
Who funds you and what have you. I mean, obviously, there's lots of civil society organizations that are not funded by too many people. And there are some who are overfunded. If you look at AfriForum,
definitely.
They are funded. They are even building a university.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, when people say you are funded, I always ask them, what do we need funding for? Because firstly, T-shirts, people who wear our T-shirts, they buy them.
Okay.
People who go and come to our marches, they organize themselves, they pay buses, we don't pay for them. The only time we'll ever do anything is when there's an operation somewhere. And the people say, guys, we want to go there. We've spoken with the police. So you don't have a full-time
operation as much like an office with people who are working?
No, we don't. Organize. No, we don't.
So it's not your job?
No, it's mobile.
What's your job every day? No, I'm just curious. I mean, do you have a consultancy?
JJ, there's life outside of March and March. There's me, where I do my own things on the side that have nothing to do with March and March. Yeah. And then there's March.
So you don't need a job. You are fully funded. You are fully engaged in the economy.
I do have work that I do on the side.
Yeah, but what do you promote? What are you do? Are you a consultant?
No, I farm.
Oh, serious?
Yes.
With what?
I farm and I have an
cabbages.
Events, and like I said, I have an events company since the year 2004, actually. Yeah. So I've had 2014, actually. Why am I lying?
No, that's interesting.
So I've had an events company since 2014. I've done a lot of events in my community as well. With the same company. And I still, there's life outside of March and March. But March and March is not going to depend on me.
Yeah.
So whether I'm there or not. But there's an
organization called March and March, like a board.
Yes.
So you are the president of March and March.
I'm not a president. There's no president. No, I'm just a founder. I'm just a founder. Founder. That's all.
Founder and CEO.
No, there's no CEO.
Founder only.
We're an NPC.
Yeah, but NPCs have boards. You have a board?
That's
Who's on your board? Because
that's what we're doing now. No, you don't know much. We have a communications person who's heading our... Tarat is not much and much. You're just being spicy. Right now, you're just being spicy. Sure. But Tarat has Insizwa Nobuzizwa. That's his organization.
Oh, I see.
That he does on the side.
So it was just a collaboration.
It wasn't a collaboration. When we have March and March and we invite anyone and everyone to march, nobody is restricted. Even you can come and march. And the day we march,
they won't chase me away.
Who's going to chase you for what? We've been marching everywhere in the country, every single province.
Yeah.
Western Cape, they march every Thursday, every Saturday without fail. You know?
Can you just give me one word on Pan-Africanism? Because obviously we cannot, we have, this continent is under siege. I mean, if you look at just the inter-Africa trade as opposed to European trade, I mean, inter-Africa trade is not even 15%, despite all the efforts, despite the AU existing and what have you. The SADC was looking at yesterday that they're saying it's the 46th summit. So next
But you
year it's going to be a
see,
47
but
summit.
it's exactly why I have a problem with us as people,
Mm.
you know, because we've got leaders that will sit there for 50 something years
Yeah.
as deadwood, doing nothing for the people,
Mm.
not growing the economy, not even building a single road. When they build a road, it's 10 million rand for a road.
Yeah.
And they know that they're only benefiting, that economy of that country is only benefiting a few. But when those SADC leaders sit together, they don't confront each other about those issues.
Yeah.
It's a window dressing session where we all want to look good in front of the world.
But
because
if you're
we're
a
signing
president of this
agreements.
country, would you argue for African integration as far as economy
There's
is
nothing
concerned?
wrong with African integration.
Yeah.
We're all for African integration. We're all for us visiting each other,
Yeah.
loving each other, but I'm saying it cannot be a one-way street, JJ.
Yeah.
And if Zimbabwe is falling apart, because remember, the influx of Zimbabweans happened in 2008
Yeah.
when their economy was falling apart. Then 2010 happened with the World Cup. Then God knows everyone now where it came, the same way they're doing now in
Yeah.
other European countries. You come to watch the World Cup, then you discover you've got a skill that you didn't know that you had before you come to South Africa, because the country is so open for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I'm saying, that Pan-Africanism needs
Yeah.
to be Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
It must not interfere with immigration laws of other countries.
Do you admit, though, that there may be a blurring of lines in your campaign in terms of not distinguishing between foreigners and illegal foreigners?
There's no blurred lines. It's because you listen to 10 other people and
Yeah.
you don't listen to me when I speak. When I speak, I've never said anything about all foreigners leaving the country.
Yeah.
So when other people speak and they say other
Yeah,
things,
but I'm saying you admit that there may be a blurring
No,
of lines.
that's what I'm
because
saying.
if
It's
people
black-
go into a
but-
community and
but
start
that's-
chasing out
but
people
then, you see,
and
that's
saying, give me a
this is
paper.
exactly, JJ,
Yeah.
this is exactly where I'm bringing you to.
Mm.
That, as you said, there was Dudula before March
Yes,
and March.
yes.
There's several other organizations that we found when we started March and
Yeah.
March. Several that were already on the ground, that are still on the ground.
Mm.
Then there's a combination of a community that's already disgruntled.
Yeah.
Because you
I
are
see.
tired of foreign nationals. We are this and that. So when we come in, we package the whole thing correct. Because trust and believe me, I don't know how many times people have said to me, "Hi, Skatele, you and this matching. Thina sifuna ukubashaya manje la bantu, sifuna ukuba," you know? And I have to say, guys, no.
Yeah.
But think about it.
But that's the blurring I'm
yes,
talking about.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
This is where we come
But
in.
you think you have managed it well?
We have.
Okay.
We would never have had that many
peaceful
matches
yes.
happening in the country if
Yeah.
we didn't manage it well.
No,
Trust
absolutely.
and
I think
believe
that
me.
surprised
Because
many people.
trust me,
Yeah.
everyone was speaking violence. We'd never spoken about violence. I kept on saying this.
Yeah.
Where are you guys getting this idea that we're
Of
going
violence.
around being violent? Yes, there are communities
Yeah.
that have nothing to do with us. Our people.
Are you saying there were no agent provocateurs in your
No.
matches?
Our people.
Yeah.
Trust and believe, we workshop our people. In every single province, we have workshops. We teach them about the law, because that is why we find ourselves
And you're
here.
doing this all from the goodness of your heart.
I'm doing this for the goodness of my
the country.
children.
All right.
Because
okay,
they still have to live in this country.
Jacinta.
Whether your children, JJ,
Yeah.
are rebels or whatnot, at the end of the day, if
How
the
my
country,
children?
I'm just making an example here. I know it hurts, but sorry. But I'm saying, if they're rebels,
Yeah.
they still have to be in the same country. So it doesn't help me polishing them, making them all this glossy
Yeah.
type of thing when they come into a society that's not a
All
reflection
right, let
of
me
what
get
I've
let me
taught.
get my friends in to interrogate you.
Oh,
Mike Shem,
Lord.
you know Mike
I
Shem
know
is the
Mike, yes,
State of the
Mike.
Nation
Hi, Mike.
podcaster, Brutus,
Hi,
brutal,
Brutus.
brutally frank.
Yeah, he's
also
yeah,
part
I
of our
saw
Sunday
him
Well
fighting with
podcast.
Herman. Yeah.
Your friend, yeah, Herman fought with them for calling you. What did Herman call? No, there was someone who
They
said
called
you're a
us
vigilante group.
vigilante.
Okay,
Yeah,
Brutus,
well.
let's
Yeah,
kick us off there.
Is it on? Yeah. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Jacinta. I was going to start on the political association part. If you look at all political parties now, 90% of them will have the issue of migration in their manifestos. So it has become really a hot issue. And everyone would want to be associated with you. But we know that political parties are formed out of a grievance. And there comes a time when you can send deputations, you can send letters to the Queen, but at some point you would want to form a political party to do it yourself. So they say, if you want to get something done, you better do it yourself. Will that time come for March and March to become a political party?
Look, I think that's why we're aligning with political parties, because we know we don't have a voice in parliament. We know we can't submit motions. We know we can't push government in certain directions. And that is something that only a political party can do. And that's why we're aligning with as many of them as possible. And there's not one that we're singling out to say we're only in alignment with this political party, because we know all of them have flaws, and we know that we might agree on the issue of illegal immigration, for example, but we don't agree on something else. So we always make it clear that we're in alignment on the issue of illegal immigration, because that's what we do. We're not trying to talk about roads and trees and all of these things. But we know that when you push government to work, for example, to enforce the laws of the country, automatically there's a ripple effect. Other things start being fixed as well. Because when we were doing the cleanup in Durban and there were police visibility, all of these tuck shops that were in town suddenly got closed. All of a sudden, all these people that were selling drugs in the streets suddenly disappeared. And that was because we said we're going to do a cleanup, a simple cleanup. But now there's police presence, something that wasn't there before.
Yeah. But he's asking whether you will ever start
No.
a political party.
I think that's why I'm saying that we are choosing to work with political parties with that in mind, of the fact that there are places that we lack, that we cannot go to. So March and March remains a civic movement. And that's why we have a forum as well now, because we are of the understanding that there are other things that we as March and March have probably not going to tackle the same way a forum would, things that other communities need us to do, which is something we've noticed. But we're not going to be a political party.
Okay. But you as Jacinta, you've got a constituency, you've got a good following. Your name is, all media houses are sounding your name all over. Political parties would want to have you. How many offers have you refused?
Plenty of offers that I've received. Plenty. With budgets, very high budgets to manage. But like I said, I've turned them down.
Did you turn Herman down?
I've turned all of them down. Why are we singling out Herman? Why are you singling out Herman?
No, because like you said, you mentioned that political parties, you have been giving some of them messages of support.
Yes.
And we know that Herman has been on a crusade to recruit mayoral candidates. And I would assume that you would have been one of those that you would have
They've
targeted.
already announced their mayoral candidates for Durban. That's why we sent a message of support.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me go to another issue.
Okay.
Higher education is also paying the brunt on this issue of migration. You've got universities that are being targeted. Even the portfolio committee itself seemed to have developed a sudden interest on how many foreigners universities are appointing. University of Mpumalanga, it's one of them that has been in the news in the past few days. But there's no university that would have been successful without attracting excellence across the world. So Alimas Rui would not have been a star had he not been accepted abroad. Thandika Kandawira, our own Mda, and many others. Now, what do you say to people who are taking advantage of this momentum on this issue, redirecting it to places like universities that are supposed to be centers of excellence and attract excellence irrespective of whether it is local or foreign?
I don't think your question is accurate, actually. Because if you're saying they're taking advantage of it, that's the wrong wording. The laws of the country have been there in existence and have given universities a way on how they should recruit foreign nationals, and foreign nationals even at university level.
No,
so
I'm
just
talking
because
about those who are attacking universities today.
No, I'm going there. So I'm saying just because someone is qualified as a doctor doesn't mean we must ignore what the law says. Because the law of the country is the one that says before you hire a foreigner, I think it's Section 8 of the Labor Relations Act, that says before you hire a foreigner, you must have fulfilled yourself that there is no other South African that can provide the same skills, right? It's not the university that says that. It is the laws of the country that say that. So even if you get the best professor from wherever, if there is another professor in South Africa that can provide equally as great a skill and is equally as qualified, the laws of the country say you take the South African one. Whether you think that one was a better option or not is irrelevant to what the law says. And this is why we find ourselves where we are as a country, because we like flexing our laws how and when we feel like it. You know, if the laws, if you say you call us vigilantes, but you're not going to call universities that hire foreigners by bypassing the same laws in the countries vigilantes. And those are people who are taking the laws into their own hand. Because why are you ignoring the laws of the country and hiring professors or doctors or whoever in a way that the law doesn't say you should? That's why we've got a host of doctors now sitting at home without any jobs, because people have decided that, oh no, Nigerian doctors are better by virtue of them having Nigerian managers in those hospitals. It presents us with an even bigger problem, because why are we even going to school if we're going to get doctors in Nigeria? Might as well close all our medical doctor schools and then go and recruit in Nigeria.
Yeah, fair enough, and I agree with you. Universities must abide by our laws.
Everyone,
but we should also create a balance where we don't create centers of mediocrity. We attract.
So why do we say
wherever
South
it
Africa?
is.
Why do you align South Africa with mediocrity?
No, I'm
How?
not aligning
Why?
South Africa
Why
with
are we not
mediocrity.
saying a foreign doctor is the one that will provide South Africa with mediocrity?
No. That's not what I'm saying.
What
I
are
am
you
saying
saying?
that universities, as centers of excellence, they must attract and strive for excellence.
But
So
that's
we
what I'm
must
saying.
create
That's
the
what I'm saying.
balance.
In this conversation, when we talk about the law of the country saying prioritize a South African, why is the first comment or feeling that you have is that we're going to be compromising excellence?
No.
If
I'm not saying
if
we're
we
going to
do
be
that.
compromising excellence. I'm saying while universities must abide by the laws of the country, and I stand with you on that one, universities must not flout the rules. They must apply that.
Yes.
But they must strive for excellence. And if there's a best South African academic, that academic must be appointed. And I
Absolutely.
agree.
Absolutely.
But what I'm disagreeing with, or perhaps what I was trying to raise, is a sudden interest that has developed, especially on the part of the portfolio committee. We have not heard them talk about students who are learning by rumor, because universities are so overloaded and they have not been talking about infrastructure. And there are many other issues.
I hear you. But it's not sudden enough, if I might add.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you heard that TVET College Zimbabwean story, where Zimbabwean, who's not even quite bringing a special skill, he's just running the college, started hiring Zimbabweans. And they're asking him, what process did you follow to hire other Zimbabweans? He couldn't answer that, because this is exactly the problem that we present ourselves. Once you hire a foreign national in a position that's strategic like that, the automatic thing to do is to create an environment that's comfortable for themselves by hiring other foreign nationals. And that's why we end up losing our own skills and having people sitting at home not working. And then crime starts increasing. And then we have more problems, societal problems, because our own people are not taken care of, which is what the biggest problem that we have in the country is. South Africans need to be protected in their own country by their own government, using the same laws that they're using to protect foreigners.
Okay, lastly from me, there are two areas. One is legal aid. The second one is a road accident fund.
Yeah.
And one of the abuses that has been experienced is the fact that on the legal aid issue, it says everyone has a right to access to legal representation.
Absolutely.
Then you've got legal aid that is overwhelmed, where even if you extract illegal miners, you have to represent them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Then on the RAF, you also have this issue of benefits after an accident. And
Yes.
it's because everyone.
True.
So there are those who are arguing that we need to change one and say citizen. What do you say about that? Because if you say every citizen, then you are now
Include
saying
everyone.
a citizen on the basis of the definition in the Constitution. Either you are naturalized or you are a citizen by birth.
True.
Now, that could actually eliminate a lot of abuses that we're experiencing. I just wanted a comment on that.
No, true. And thank you for that question. I think what you're presenting now is exactly the problem we keep finding ourselves in. You go to every single department in this country, every single one of them, they'll tell you about the law, the law. I want to do this, but the law, the law, the law. Every single one of them, they keep hitting their head against the block. Now, when we sat down, luckily my husband is a lawyer. So when we sat down and looked at what the greater problem is, the greater problem is not the fact that these laws are not implementable, and that it's not the fact that these laws cannot be resolved. The problem is there's like this, they're clashing. So, for example, when they say you can't come into the country because unless you can invest 5 million to open a business, right? And then refugees and asylum seekers go to a certain court, and then they say, but we are refugees, we need to survive, so we need to run businesses and whatever, you know. And then the court says, oh no, they're so right, their human rights are so important, we need to make sure these innocent, poor refugees are getting a right to open businesses. What can of worms did that open? It opened a whole lot of spaza shops and all these shops in town now mushrooming up under the disguise of people being business people, safely guarded by refugees and asylum seeker status. And now, when the Constitutional Court says, no, there's been an abuse of the refugee process, and no, you can't apply again, etc., etc., then you find that in South Africa currently, there's about 800,000 applications for refugees and asylum seekers sitting.
As we speak.
800,000 people who have applied. I'm not talking about those who are undocumented.
Yeah.
But we currently have about only 200,000+ asylum seekers and refugees. Now you're telling me that 200 and so many thousand people can be all over the country the way we've got Somalians, Ethiopians in this country. People who, when you ask them, how did you get into the country? They can't explain it. How would you move from Somalia and say you're taking a bus and pass all those other borders? How did you pass all those other borders to come to South Africa? They can't give you a proper answer. Because you know why? The law allows them to. The minute they heard that, it was fireworks. Now, the Home Affairs Department has about 2,500, I think that was the number, I'm not sure, litigations against them by foreigners at this current moment, right? And that's why we're saying SA First Forum, which is what we just formed, allows South Africans to say, you know, we've seen AfriForum go and litigate against government, because the same legal team that the government presents, and when you read the submissions, you say, no, man, but why didn't the minister argue this? You know, some of the things they just let happen, like the changing of a surname where a husband can take a wife's surname. It was 2 white people who came and said, I want my wife's surname, blah, blah, blah. But the implications of it touch our tradition, religion, and values as well. You know, we were never consulted about that because we don't have access to the courts. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the courts themselves that leave us in a situation that we are currently in. And, you know, people are going crazy now. You're going to meet with AfriForum. We're definitely going to meet AfriForum because they have the best prosecution in the country, private prosecution right now. No other forum does that. And you know why they do that? Because they're protecting themselves and their own people.
People were criticizing you for meeting AfriForum?
Yeah, we're going to meet AfriForum now.
To collaborate or just to learn from? Is it just fact-finding
I've
mission?
made it clear. We're going to learn. But what are you going to learn from white people? So I can't learn from people because they are white. Like, I don't understand it. Right now, as I'm saying, AfriForum has a model of when people subscribe and their money is not corrupted. They can see universities, they can see security.
See where their money is going.
They can see where their money is going. Why can't we learn from that? We're not going to talk about land, and we're not going to talk about a fake genocide. That's not where our focus is. Our focus is in creating a model.
Yeah, you're not
for
afraid to
South
be
Africa.
associated with those kind of bizarre things that they're
No,
doing.
but because
going around spreading our name abroad.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not going there for that, JJ. You can
Yeah.
do that. You guys can talk to them about that. You and FF and Malema can go and fight in your own battles there. You can't now get us involved in every single thing that you're fighting. You
I
know.
didn't think Malema was gonna come up in
Yes,
this
you are there in
conversation.
court sitting there supporting Malema. So we can't be now burning because you and AfriForum and Malema have your own. We want to know, how does
Yeah.
their prosecution work?
Yeah.
How do your litigation matters work?
What has been
How
their view
do-
on the migration issue? Did they
We're going to
support
learn
you?
all of that today because we also want
You
to
are
know.
meeting them today?
Yeah. We've
Oh,
got
okay.
a lot of
Yes, we should have interviewed
Afrikaans
you
people.
after, man.
No. Well, we said there's
You'll
a
come
part
back.
2.
All right,
So
sharp.
there's a lot of Afrikaans people as well that are
Yeah.
that are against what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to put all of that to the table. That what exactly makes them uncomfortable about what's going on? Because remember, when we say government must engage us,
Yeah.
even if they don't agree with us, it's the same thing we must do with other
With
people.
other-
It's the
other-
same thing. It's
other
the same reason.
communities,
It's
yeah.
the same reason I go and do interviews with Nigerians, Ghanaians,
Yeah.
and whoever else who's against March and March.
Yeah.
Because I'm not afraid of what we stand for and who we are.
All right, let's ask
Okay,
Mike.
sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah. Mike, come in there.
So, JJ, you could get a hell of a shock when March and March joins the Freedom Front Plus. I imagine that. I couldn't help it when Brutus over here said that universities should apply the law, thinking perhaps the government should apply the laws because that's the
True.
problem. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's the government not doing
Exactly.
the laws. But Jacinta, really, the first question that comes to my mind is, there's a real danger that you're being played by the politicians. I mean, politicians, we know what politicians are like. And there's been quite a close association between March and March and Mkhonto weSizwe, where their leader was probably the president that allowed the biggest number of illegal foreigners. You referenced the collapse of Zimbabwe after 2008.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Who was the president soon after that? That literally dismantled the border posts and
True.
let everybody come through. Now, suddenly, they seem to be your second best friends because other than Herman, who has to be surgically removed from parts of your anatomy.
Oh, Lord.
But,
Jeez.
we've seen MK. We've seen MK get very, very close to you, whereas you would say that the roots of the problem, certainly the problem was made a lot worse by their current leader, Jacob Zuma. Are you not afraid that you're getting played by these political parties?
Look, I think just to answer you, it's a very good question. Personally, I don't think there's a right and wrong way to do what I'm doing. Because I don't know what's right and what's wrong. That's the honest truth. All I can do is really align myself with people who are in the same conversation that we're talking about. Because with every single political, we even wrote to the EFF when we started all of this. We invited every single political party. And they rejected us.
overtures.
Yes, obviously they rejected us.
Yeah.
It wasn't the other way around. And I'm not bitter about it. I understand. It's their policy position. And as the ANC, I don't know what's their policy. One day they want to talk about the next day we are vigilantes, the next day we are something else. I never know what goes on with the ANC, to be honest.
And if you met with Mbalula?
Why would I meet Mbalula?
He's the SG.
But the same way you're meeting with AfriForum.
Like I said,
Yeah.
we invited them, they rejected us.
Yeah.
With AfriForum, at least they invited us. We also wanted to meet them. We have
So
a
just
meeting.
mutual, yeah.
There's a mutual understanding. If someone rejects you, I can't keep going and groveling. You know what I mean? We have to move. So with that question of Jacob Zuma, MK, like IFP, like NFP, like Patriotica, have their own flaws. Every single one of them, like I mentioned, I can sit here and say, this is the problem with this. But on the migration issue, that is where we agree. Remember, I said, we can align with any of them. We're a movement. We're not a political party. We're not trying to get into bed with them long term and then we told them when we meet every single one of them, one thing I can assure, and they can tell you this, is that we told them, MK, if you take over eThekwini, just know that if you move on your word on illegal immigration, we will be there to hold you accountable. They know this. In every single meeting, we meet everyone. We say, Herman, on this issue of illegal immigration, if you do not do what you have promised the people that you're going to do, we are going to hold you accountable. That is our job. I don't want to call us the watchdog. It makes us seem like we're something serious when I just feel like it's just people expressing themselves.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do as a movement, to continuously raise the voice of the people. And if the people of South Africa one day wake up and say, oh no, we're fine, illegal immigrants can stay, let's just have a party, we obviously have to sit back and say, okay, guys, that's what we want. We'll give it to you. Our movement will focus on other things. That's it.
No one will pitch up to your marches in that case, and you would know. But I just want to follow up and say that in the run-up to the 2024 election, in a sort of a desperation act, the ANC passed a whole lot of very controversial legislation. And embedded in all of that legislation, from expropriation to national health to Bella, was big concessions, a big de-citizenship of the legislation. What role has that played in the absolute flood that we've seen in the last 2 years of illegal immigration? And will you be fighting that legislation?
It's caused a headache. Like, as I was explaining, other legislation that's already been there before the NHI and the Bella Bill and all of that. That's why I think I can't express how much this forum needs to work, because a lot of governance is happening in the courts. Parliament is a decorative process, if I can tell you the truth. People in parliaments can pass whatever legislation, the courts can just chuck it out and just turn it out. And this is why I continuously keep drawing people back to the fact that who is managing these courts? How is it happening that, judges can give bail to an illegal immigrant and nobody rings the alarm and says, who is this judge? Why would they make such a decision, etc., etc.? No, these magistrates and judges make some of the most shocking decisions, and you sit there and you're like, but why is nobody calling them to account? Like, who do they account to? Parliament? Who do judges account to, JJ? Maybe you know.
No, of course they account to the JSE,
When?
where Parliament is involved.
When?
Remember that the legal system by itself is self-correcting. In other words, if you don't like that decision, you can appeal. And then somebody else can find differently.
Oh, you see,
that's what's different from a parliamentary
No, but you see,
democracy.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it means that no laws can be passed in this country.
No,
Because
laws
everything
laws
will
can
be
be
a
passed. They
circle.
just have to be constitutional. Because
Yeah,
we've been down the
everything
road where
is
Parliament passed any law under the sun declaring you and I subhuman.
Yes, I know that, but a lot of what we're doing now is because of fear of the past repeating itself. We're not even being
No, we
practical
shouldn't
anymore.
make history repeat
Yes,
itself, of course.
no, we shouldn't make history
And it's
repeat
not a
it.
perfect system.
But now we can't allow a system where just because we're scared of history, we can't call the current system into order.
What would you do if you became president on the issue of the law, of the legal system?
I'd have a process that allows the citizens to also be consulted when major decisions are made.
But that's what happens now with
no. Let me tell
parliamentary
you
laws.
why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
There's something called the constitutional amendment. So that was in 2025. They said, make submissions about things that you want to change in the constitution.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we went crazy. We started sending things. It went quiet until this year. Prince Mtomben and SACR, they questioned, why are you guys so quiet, etc., etc. They are the South African constitutional reform. Their focus is solely on that. So when they started asking that, the response that we got was that some of the reforms are unconstitutional.
Yeah.
They didn't go into detail to say, okay, this we can't do because of that. If you're saying to me, for example, someone says they want the death penalty, I understand. You can explain that. You say, no, guys, we can't have the death penalty because we must protect human life, etc., etc.
Can we agree? You
But
and
some
I,
of them, you can't just have a blanket answer that says some of the constitutional reforms or
no, not reforms,
whatever,
suggestions to reform, like
are
death penalty.
unconstitutional.
Yeah.
But if that's what the people want, how are you
All
as
right.
a
We're gonna
people
host a dialogue
telling
to
us
look at
that
the
you can't tell
review of
us
30 years of constitution,
yes
because that will require another hour.
yes
I'm just saying that on part 2, I'm gonna come and interrogate what are your suggestions of what should
okay
change in the constitution.
yes
Mike, 2
everyone
or
should
3
change
more
first of all.
quickly
Just
before we close.
last one, it's a big one, because as you rightly said at the start, you don't wake up in the morning and decide, oh, well, I'm putting on my marching shoes and leaving the country. It's usually a decision that's made at a bit of length with a lot of thought. To be fair to the immigrants, it's not an easy process to get here. You mentioned our people get here from 10 countries away. It's not something you just do willy-nilly. There's a push and a pull involved here. We understand the pull. South Africa is quite industrialized compared to some of these other African countries. This must look like something they've never seen before. But there's the push, and that is the failure of these countries, which our government still seems to be very comfortable with. We recently saw the president cozying up to wanted criminals in South Africa on his visit to Zimbabwe, shaking hands with a guy who's stealing an election, changing constitution, etc. What kind of pressure do you think we can bring to bear on the government behaving better?
I think for the first time in a long time, I'm actually happy with the way South Africans are holding government accountable. We've got Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, who brought a whole Madlanga commission to currently bring the police to book, something that we had been oblivious to all along. I mean, we knew there was problems with the police, but we didn't know it was this
So
bad,
deep.
you know. And for the first time, we can watch it being televised. You know, we can watch the criminals actually, you know, being brought to book. Unlike other commissions that have just been a waste of time, the Madlanga Commission actually is doing something profound for the people of South Africa, and I'm very, very like fulfilled when I see something like that happening. It brings so much satisfaction to see that as a country we've got people who are willing to risk it all just to make sure that, you know, the people of this country are serviced the way that they should. And you know, if we didn't have people see March and March as an enemy of their political parties, I'm sure they'd see us in the same way. But unfortunately, there's this whole view that we are disturbing their political parties' campaigns or whatever it is that they say. Some of them view us as enemies, which is not who we are. Accountability is what we strive for with all government entities and all civil servants and people. And our concern has always been that the laws of the country are there, but they are like a decoration because they only apply to South Africans. Because right now, if I was to do something wrong, you can easily find me, bring me to book, arrest me. It's a big show. But how many illegal immigrants are getting away with crimes in this country? And it's a cycle. It keeps going like this. Just because our president is so scared to confront the elephant in the room, which is to say, hey, Mnangwangwa, you need to treat your people better. You need to allow them to protest when they want to protest. There was a guy who was trying to protest in Zimbabwe, July 30th, Begimpilo Mbetsi. We were supporting that guy, supporting him full on. He's our brother, you know. He's from Zimbabwe. They tried to stage a protest. We were full on saying, guys, we're going to also protest. We went to protest at the Zimbabwean embassy alongside them to show solidarity. Not a single Zimbabwean showed up for their own protest in Zimbabwe. On top of that, they arrested Begimpilo Mbetsi, and you know, Mnangagwa carries on as if life is normal. You know, when he comes here, the reception is like, Father Christmas has just landed in the country. Why are they not being honest with each other? You know, I heard them talking about Madagascar and how there was a coup and all of those things, but they couldn't even confront that because, you know, we have dictators, you know, dictators who unfortunately do not love their people. Because a dictator who loves their people would probably even have something like a country like Dubai, you know. Dubai, the UAE has a well-oiled machine. Those people they're living large, they're rich, but their people are not poor. Their people are not poor. You'll never see someone coming from the UAE coming to South Africa claiming that they are a refugee and they want asylum here, because those people love their country. They love their religion. They protect what is theirs. We don't have a system that does that.
Okay, I think
we need protection from our own governments. Even those in Africa must be protected from Mnangagwa.
we've got to wrap it up now. Thank you, guys. Jacinta, thank you for giving us your time. Practically, what should happen? What are the? Just give me one or two things that you think can happen to try and bring us. Because I'm just concerned about us pulling into one direction to solve what is really a global issue that is confronting us.
One, a border gate. Two,
a border gate, like you mean
yes,
physically. Yeah, all right.
The border wall fence that was built in Mexico by that madman called Trump was actually part of it bought here in South Africa, right here in Gauteng. We have the resources here. We've got these machines that they were showcasing.
So you're talking about the physical structure.
Yes,
it has
to be physical. We failed otherwise. They're telling us about animals, whatever. Other countries have animals too. We're not the only country with animals. Now you can't have a fence because there's animals. You'll find a way of making sure that nature
it's called a Transfrontier Conservation Park.
Yes,
where elephants can move from Zimbabwe to South Africa freely.
No, we don't need Zimbabwean elephants. Zimbabwean elephants will stay in Zimbabwe. What are we going to do with Zimbabwean elephants? Zimbabweans eat elephants.
We've got lots of elephants. We want to give Zimbabwe elephants.
No. If we want elephants, we'll carry them through the border.
Okay, so a physical border. Secondly,
yes. Two, I'm very happy with the white paper currently.
Yeah. Okay.
They just need to work on.
Have you met the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Home
No,
Affairs?
we were part of the inputs on the white paper. Remember how the white
paper. But we have an open line to him because he's the one who seems to be.
We have an open line with the other officials, the DG,
but not the minister.
The HOD. The minister doesn't want to meet us. It's okay.
Really?
Now, yes. So now I'm saying, JJ, how the white paper came about, we met with Minister Mutwaledi, who wanted to listen to us, who didn't mind listen to these vigilantes as they claim.
Okay.
After we spoke about the Home Affairs Department. We were actually there for the issue of hospitals and clinics and access. Then we ended up speaking about the Home Affairs Department. Then he tells us all these things that he had done, Then we go to Home Affairs. We're like, how? Guys, there's a white paper.
Yeah,
but
I wonder why the Minister of Home Affairs doesn't want to meet you, because Zilla said he had a pleasant meeting with you guys. Yeah,
we spoke to Zilla, but Zilla also said the same thing, that the minister wouldn't want to meet us. That's fine. Wow. It's okay.
All right.
It's his prerogative. But I'm saying, when we got there, and then Mr. Mutwaledi is like, no, there was a white paper, SIU reports, all of this. So we go to Home Affairs, like, there's a white paper that's sitting there. You must check how long that white paper has been sitting there. There's a SIU report. So what is going on? So we start now following up on all of these things. Now they're suddenly mushrooming as if there are these like amazing ideas that just came yesterday.
Last word?
No. So it's the laws.
Yeah, the laws. Okay.
And then we must have deportation of those that are already in the country. Yeah. Those ones are too comfortable, too entitled. They need to understand that South Africa is a country with laws. If they want to come in, they must start the process from in their country.
Are you willing to meet with Kubai and the Minister of Home Affairs if we arranged it?
I'm willing to meet even Mnangagwa himself. I'm willing to meet anyone.
So you're not hostile towards the IMC?
I'm not hostile to anyone. Even Zimbabweans, I sit there. I've been to workshops and meetings. Even the church had a meeting with all Zimbabweans, people from Congo, and I told them to their face, I'm like, you guys are not being fair. Because if what is happening in South Africa was happening in your country, you also wouldn't be happy. Nobody who's a native of that country would be happy with what is happening in their country if it was their country. The only reason you're sitting there looking at us as bad people is because it's benefiting you.
All right, we're going to have to close it.
Jacinta,
it's hot in here. Very passionate. Yeah. So, sorry, this do they confuse you with a relative of Zuma, or what is it?
They always say I'm Zuma's daughter. We're related to Zuma.
You're not relatives.
No, my husband is a Zuma from Newcastle.
Or not linked to Jacob Zuma.
So JJ, when everyone Tabane is related to you.
No.
Exactly.
Of course not.
Why is the Zuma surname the only
but
surname?
I can own Philip Tabane, even if we're not related. When they say Philip Tabane, I say, no, it's Tabane. It's the same thing. Jacinta, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, JJ.
All the best with what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, that was Frank Dialogue Podcast. Very hot, and you can see very passionate. But of course, the debate continues about migration. Do send us your comments. And of course, she's agreed for part 2. So that will happen soon. Until we talk frankly again, may God bless you.